Hello and welcome to episode 10, double digits now. Decreedance one more time. 1, 2, 3. So I think I'm coming to a sort of bit of an interesting place with Decreedance. And firstly, I should probably start by apologising. There'll be some jarringly different looks here. I shaved quite a long standing beard off accidentally yesterday. And so I'm going to be looking somewhat different throughout this video as I jump back in time to older takes. But so I'm reaching an interesting place with Decreedance. I've kind of got this conundrum in that I'm obviously doing this sort of progression of videos over time, but at the same time, at the end of this process is the release of a finished piece of work, right? And I've put that I mentioned in the last video, I put that timer on my website at soundshed.org. And that's given me a bit of a sense of an urgency. So, but at the same, I don't really want on this channel to, give away the full songs as in their finished parts. I'm obviously starting this process off with the performances and then following them through. But I think I'm coming to an interesting place with Decreedance in that I've pretty much got the foundations of the mix down. I've got keys, bass, guitar, drums, a vocal of some sorts, that's what I'm going to be going in today, is exactly where Decreedance is and whatnot. But that is pretty much, and then mix it all and then start, really getting into what that's going to sound like in the album version. So I think what I'll do is I'll stop now with Decreedance in terms of making videos on it. This will be my last one. There's a solo that I've been working on, which I play a little bit of that. There's the tracks as they are, and the mixer at this point in time, and then that'll be sort of a finish of this episode and Decreedance for a while. That doesn't mean I'm not going to be working on it. It just means that and I might come back to it. Like if I find something interesting worth talking about I'll make another video. But I'll move on to Thighs, iPhone, and Breath now in the video on the video channel and start working on those. So yeah. Right, so what I'll do is I'll start with a brief listen through of the mix as it stands right now, and then I'll pull up the mixer and just talk through briefly what's going on with the tracks themselves. Just kicks in sort of second verse. First verse, obviously. Here, you didn't hear the guide vocal because essentially all I've got on that is the 1073 Sheps, the Andrew Sheps emulation from Waves on there. That's running whilst I track. That's the NT1A. I've got a good signal. I'm really pleased with the signal I've got, but I've done no work whatsoever to kind of bring it into the mix. It's sitting out there. It's just the raw vocal. So it sounds quite jarring at the moment on playback, so I've left it out, but there's a lot of work to be done on that. The telly, I've got the channel strip on there as well. That's just purely to bring the mids out. The vast majority of what's going on with the telly is generated in the Tone Studio. And then in regards to the bass guitar, I've bounced this down a couple of times already. That is just the DI signal, the signal's straight into the desk, running into the high Z input on the L12. That is the XLR output on the bass, So it's a good strong signal in there. The channel strip in the L12 is doing some work in terms of EQ, and that's the standard setting I have on there, which I use whenever I'm either just rehearsing or practicing or doing whatever. And then when I bring, so all of the work that's in Logic is added after I track. So I just track using the channel strip on the desk. That's then bussed into this second strip here where I've got a bass amp on there. I don't know why that Sheps is on there. I'll take that off. So I've got the bass amp on there. I'm not sure why I've offset that 14 degrees to the left, but I'll see if there's some logic in that as I go along. So those two make up the bass guitar. The EQ work that is on there is essentially to obviously boost what I like, but also to try and keep it out of the way of the kick drum. With the bass guitar, there's a great video by Rick Beato, which I'll put a link to here in the video description, where I think it's called How Pros Use EQ. And I pretty much refer back to that every time I start playing around in Logic. Starting point and then built on it to accentuate my performance, right, etc. All of those things that make that particular bass or that particular recording unique. With the bass drum, again, Huart, I think probably in this instance I used him as a starting point on the kick drum. I can't remember what video, but if I remember it, I'll put it. But he's got I'll put a link to his channel anyway in here. He's got lots of different videos on how to track drums with various different sounding mixes. So I'm trying to, again, work, and I think I referred to earlier a Rick Beato video as well, but the work here is probably where I'm going to spend the most time, because the drum track needs writing out, if that makes sense. There's fills and dynamic that need to be added to it that I haven't even tried to get into as of yet. And also, I put a compressor on the snare drum. I haven't done anything with that compressor yet. I want to try and draw out the transients in there if I can. I don't know how much of that is possible with just a pure sample, but I'm sure it is. But I haven't started yet. So that's going to take a while. I'm hoping for some help with that as well in terms of writing the fills, because again, none of this is really my area of expertise, but that's certainly probably the farthest removed from my area of expertise. And I haven't done anything at all with the overheads as yet. So the keys that are in there are an emulation just straight out of Logic. I've played around quite a bit with the settings in here, but that's it. And right, so that's yeah. And then so I've just got the solo. Sorry, completely lost my place there. So I've got the Katana again, in this case, doing all of the work in regards to the solo that you heard earlier in the video. That probably will become my go-to guitar practice for the next 2 to 3 weeks before I get a final version of that down. At the moment, it is literally one verse length. I don't expect it to get any longer. And that actually is a point that I'll probably come back to here. I have added, obviously we've got the first verse, second verse, and you can see that those are the straight through performances with here, but then I've cut and paste this section in to create space for the solo. So that now has added, I'm not sure exactly how much it's added to the overall length, but it's added that first bracket to the bridge that I was speaking about in the earlier video. I haven't added as of yet anything to the end. My intention really initially was at the start here to have some kind of breakdown going into the bridge. I've actually ended up adding the solo. I do like the way the solo ends and then the bridge starts, so I'm quite pleased with that. So may very well, I think I'll probably leave that where it is. And so I'm not sure if I'll add anything at the end now. We'll see. So that's probably the end of Decreedance on the channel. I'll keep working on it, but this will be the last video on it, unless I find, as I said, something interesting to talk about. So I'll probably move on to breath. Cheers.